A key question is, what does this generation of children and young people have to do to be able to be real contributors in the world that they're going to be living in? So there are three parts, I think, to this. You have to understand what that world is going to be like, and it's coming at us very fast. What do they have to be good at to do that? And then what can they do, and what can parents and teachers and others do? So the first part, we all know that we're at a transition moment in the world. We can sense that. So let me try to articulate it. In the past, change was almost invisible because it was so slow. It would only happen at one place at a time and nothing else would change. So we didn't organize around change. Instead, we organized around efficiency and repetition. So think assembly line or law firm. Educational systems were about mastering a body of knowledge and a set of rules, and then that defined you. You were a baker or you were a banker, and the presumption was you just keep doing that all your life. That world is now failing badly and more rapidly. The underlying reason is that the rate of change is going up exponentially. That's just a mathematical fact. And that's been going up since about 1700. So the death rate of large corporations has been accelerating for the last 40 years. The old system just isn't working, and we can feel that in 100 different ways. So instead, that curve is bringing us to a world defined by change, not repetition. Those are opposites. So it used to be that A fit B because they kept doing the same thing. They fit together because they repeated together. Now, A changes and it bumps B through Z, and they bump everything around them, and change begets and accelerates change. That is a completely different way of living. And it requires a completely different way of organizing, which requires a completely different set of skills. So anyone in this generation of children and young people who don't understand this new strategic environment and don't prepare themselves for it are in really big trouble. Any society, any city that doesn't see that and act accordingly is in really deep trouble. So what is this going to be like? The way you have to organize is a fluid, because what you're serving is constantly changing. So you have to constantly be changing who you are, who you bring to bear. Open, because you have to get the best ideas anywhere in the world, regardless of sector or geography. You need a team, because you now need everyone to be an actor. Everyone trying to understand all this change going on and seeing where you can contribute. And then they've got to be able to work together with everyone being initiatory. This is really different. An open, fluid team of teams. In that world, you cannot afford anyone on your team who is not a change maker. A change maker, you have to have certain core skills. The foundational one, the most important one on which all the others are built, is cognitive empathy. Now, we all have mirror neurons and we can feel one another's pain, but building off that is cognitive empathy, where you have to understand, watch yourself understanding everyone around you layers out and further into the future as the future comes at you faster and faster. And you have to understand people in very rapidly changing and overlapping contexts. So every year, the level of cognitive empathy skill that you have to have is going up. Now, just pause on that one foundational skill and imagine what it's like for anyone who hasn't mastered that skill. They will be marginalized because the faster the rate of change goes up, the less is covered by the rules, by definition. And you can no longer be a good person by diligently following the rules. No matter how hard you try, you're going to hurt people and disrupt groups. And the moment you do that, you're finished. They don't care how much computer science you have. You hurt people, you're gone, you're marginalized. That is the worst thing you can do to any human being, and we're allowing that to happen to a very large number of today's children. All right, so with that foundational skill, which young children have to master and be practicing, you then get to the other three skills: teamwork, a very different type of leadership. When you're leading a world where everyone is a change maker, you can't just tell them what to do. And all this for change, or change making. So those are four complex learned skills that every child, every young person has to master now, or they will not be able to contribute. Think about what this means from society's point of view. How can a company in Norway or anywhere else hire and everyone a change-maker workforce if this generation of children and young people are not all graduating as change makers? So this is completely fundamental from the interests of each individual child, young person, every parent, every principal, teacher, the whole society. Now, if I may, I'd like to illustrate this a little bit. I met a 12-year-old this summer who is an Ashoka Youth Venture. She looked like 8 to me, I must tell you, but she was 12. And the moment she came down and sat next to me at lunch, I could just feel her power. So I asked her, what's your venture? And she said, oh, my younger brother was autistic, and I've hated the way kids treat him. So we, meaning a team, we got together and we changed that. Oh, how did you change that? She told me. Now, she is going to be a change maker all her life because she already is one. And she knows that she doesn't have anything to be afraid of because she can deal with anything. She has the essential skills for a world of change. Now, I then asked her, how many student groups are there in Shirley Middle School, which is where she's a student? Oh, 50. Now, I know 7 years ago there were 0, which is the norm. And what happened is that one person in an area, one of the poorest parts of that state, saw that if that area was going to not only export anyone of talent as quickly as they graduated from high school, but if it had a future, it had to have young people be change makers, because if you're a change maker, you don't have to go away. You create, and it comes to you. And if there's a whole bunch of young people, then you become a magnet, not a poor area that's exporting talent. And that's exactly what's happened. 16 townships. The story of Shirley Middle School is repeated all over those townships. And when this young woman came into that middle school, this was the norm. There were many role models. Come and join us. We'll show you how to do this. This is really cool. So it was natural for her to do this. Now, Shirley is a poor community. This is not a talented middle-class family that had all this. This is something that we can do in any community, any country. And I think it's absolutely critical that we do it. It is almost criminal to allow any child or young person to go into a world that is defined by change. That's what value is, without the ability to contribute. And that's what we're doing right now. So this is completely central, and the work of this gathering is incredibly important because hopefully you will change the future of Norway and help change the future of Europe and the world. So thank you.